welcome back to another episode of the podcast. If you're new here, hi, I am Becca and I am extremely gassy. That was totally unplanned, but Iron Brew makes me burp. I mean, everything does, to be honest. This is a podcast where we dive into topics surrounding mental health, disability, and the challenges that come with that, or whatever is going on inside of my brain. Before I get into this episode, I just want to take a minute to say thanks to the people that tune in and listen to me. And there's been people where I have had messages or emails or even just little comments and things like that makes me keep going and makes me want to continue on this journey. And I don't know, I'm just grateful that there are people that want to be a part of that, and that is really special to me. So if you want to continue to join me on this journey and you have not done so yet, please consider subscribing on YouTube and giving a follow on audio platforms, and turn on the notifications, which mean that you won't miss an upload, as this year I am trying to be more consistent and uploading weekly. I am also trying to get back on track with social media and posting kind of day-to-day and other life things on Instagram and TikTok. So if you want to follow me along on that, you can follow me at Chronicles Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And finally, before I get into this episode, if there is anything that I have misspoke about in this episode, anything you would like to correct me on, or I've got the wrong information, please let me know, because this episode, if you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, is surrounding disability benefits in the UK and the proposed cuts that the government are talking about making. I am somebody where watching the news and reading news articles makes me increasingly more anxious, and at times when I read it, it seems like disabled people are the arseholes in this situation, where the general public just thinks we are scrounging off of benefits and we don't want to work, which is not the case. And yeah, grab something, some snacks, some water. If you want to hear more about this, stay tuned and see what I've got to say. I hope I have all of the information correct in this video. However, like I said, it can be quite anxiety inducing, so please, if there's anything I have misspoke about, please leave me a comment, send me an email, and I'll either edit the video or kind of type in the description the things that I've kind of messed up on. But sometimes I can misspeak or I get some stats wrong, so yep, I am always happy to learn and grow and be a better person, as long as it is coming from a place of constructive criticism, and you're not just being an arsehole for the fact of it because you have a problem with disabled people, because pretty sure I said it in the last episode, if that is how you feel, then I don't think this podcast is for you, unless you are genuinely trying to see this in a better light, to be honest, and get your biases and discrimination in check. But whatever, if you want to continue living as a hateful person and thinking disabled people are the worst, then carry on, because fucking exhausted, to be honest. Advocating for yourself is a lot, and at times it does feel very hopeless, and this is part of the reason why I'm making this, because seeing the information about cuts and things like that does make me increasingly more anxious, and I couldn't have a podcast where I talk about disability topics and I don't touch on this. So today I am going to be tackling a topic that is both critical and timely, which is disability benefits in the UK. Specifically, I want to explore adult disability payment, which is ADP, personal independence payment, which is PIP, and universal credit, which I may shorten to UC. I also want to discuss the government's proposed cuts to these benefits and examine the stark reality that many individuals face living below the poverty line despite receiving financial support from the government. So firstly, I want to try and break down the benefits so that it gives you a bit of an easier understanding if you are not somebody who claims benefits, or if you have newly become disabled and you are not sure what benefits are out there for disabled people. So, like mentioned, there is personal independence payment, which was introduced in 2013. PIP is designed to help individuals with long-term health conditions or disabilities manage the extra costs associated with their needs. This is a non-means tested benefit, meaning that this is not influenced by income, savings, and PIP assesses individuals based on daily living and mobility components, which provides financial assistance to those that face challenges in these areas. There is adult disability payment, which in Scotland, adult disability payment has recently come in and replaced PIP. As far as from the news article that I read this morning, I'm pretty sure it was in the Sun, there is only 35,000 Scottish people who are still claimants of PIP, as they have been moved over to adult disability payment. While this serves a similar purpose, which is to assist with the additional costs of living with a disability, adult disability payment aims to offer a more compassionate and person-centred approach to assessments, which have addressed some of the criticism that PIP had faced over the years about in-person assessments and kind of assessing people who were not fit to go back to work and deciding they were, and that meaning that disabled people were then struggling with money and they had no option whether to work as disabled. And unfortunately, in those cases, when disabled people have to work because they don't get the support, people end up dead. And like, that might sound dramatic, but it's true. Like, people are pushed past their breaking point, and that's just not fair. However, the last point, or the last benefit that is going to be covered today, there are other benefits that can help people who are disabled and other benefits that are potentially being cut within the government's plan. However, these are the benefits that I have claimed, and they're the benefits that I know the most about, that I am able to then kind of convey this information. So if there are other benefits that are being proposed to be cut by the government, please leave a comment down below and I will do some more research into it, and I will maybe do a part 2 to this episode just so that I have all of the information available. However, the last one I'm going to cover and talking about, kind of explaining benefits, is universal credit, which this is a means tested benefit, and this combines 6 previous benefits into one. It is intended to support individuals who are on low income or out of work, including those with disabilities. Universal credit encompasses housing costs, childcare support, and financial assistance for those who are unable to work due to health conditions or disabilities. This section is going to be on what I have taken away from the proposed government cuts. So please do your own research, and if there are things that you think that I may have gotten wrong or misspoken about, please let me know, because like I have said, this is just my takeaway from what I've been seeing. And yeah, I might be wrong, like I might not get it right all the time. I am just human. So like I've said, let me know. Recent announcements have unveiled that there are going to be significant changes to the UK's welfare system, aiming to reduce the spending by over £6 million annually by the end of this decade. These proposed cuts include tightening PIP eligibility. The government plans to save £5 billion by revising the eligibility criteria for PIP, potentially affecting many who currently rely on this support. This move has sparked concern among disabled charities and advocates. James Taylor, Executive Direction of Strategy at Scope, warns ripping PIP away will be catastrophic for disabled people. PIP exists because life costs more if you're disabled, and he emphasised that many disabled people use PIP to access work and essential services. There are also talks about freezing PIP payments. So there is a proposal to freeze PIP payments, meaning that they will not increase with inflation, and this could lead to real terms of reduction in financial support for disabled individuals and exacerbating financial hardships. For example, right now, I get £260 or £270 of PIP because I get my mobility component goes towards my car, so that is my daily living component because I don't get the enhanced rate, and I am going to talk about this a bit later on in this episode. However, I feel like with inflation, the PIP that I'm on is increased by £2 or £3, and given the cost of living increasing significantly and how much more expensive shopping and things like that are getting, it just doesn't sit right, to be honest. How can you say you're going to freeze disability payments if inflation is going to continue to rise? It means that disabled people aren't going to be able to exist and survive, and that's just fucking shocking in my opinion. When it comes to universal credit, there are proposed adjustments, which means the basic rate of universal credit may rise for those who are actively seeking work or who are already employed. However, individuals like myself who are deemed unfit for work could see their payments reduced, which raises concerns about financial stability of those who are unable to engage in employment due to their health conditions. Like I said, watching the news and hearing this information on cuts does bring me significant anxiety. I want to kind of get into talking about the reality of being on benefits and actually living below the poverty line. Despite these benefits, PIP, ADP and universal credit, a significant number of disabled individuals in the UK continue to live below the poverty line. Scope's disability price tag research reveals that even with disability benefits, disabled households require over £1,000 per month to achieve the same standard of living as non-disabled households. Navigating the UK's disability system can be extremely overwhelming and an exhausting experience, as I have personally discovered since becoming disabled in 2019. Despite being bedbound for 2.5 years, relying heavily on carers for daily activities and facing significant mobility challenges, I have never received the full enhanced daily living component of PIP, or adult disability payment. During that period, my independence was virtually non-existent. I couldn't leave the house on my own. I relied on a commode for toileting, and I had to wash my hair in the kitchen sink because I had an inability to shower or even access the shower that was in the home that I stayed in for 2 years when I had the frame on my leg. After undergoing my leg amputation, I did regain some of my independence, but there was new challenges that emerged. There was home modifications that became essential to ensure safety and accessibility. For example, having wet room wall put in my shower in my bathroom because there was only one panel of wet room wall in a wet room for disabled people. I had to have my toilet moved over slightly so that I could have a chair so that I could sit on the toilet and also use this chair to get into the shower. I had to have my sink adjusted and changed so that it didn't have a pedestal underneath it, which gave more room for me to manoeuvre in the bathroom and actually be able to have a shower and do those things independently, even though I require aids. There are other areas of my home that remain problematic, even though I am in a ground floor level access house. And yeah, the doors are wide enough and my switches are down on a level, but it's things like I've noticed in my kitchen, like my counters are of average height, which means like if I'm making something, I either need to sit like really upright, overstretch, or stand up on my leg, which means days where I am in a high amount of pain or I have high fatigue, that I need to like stand up and cook a dinner or stand up to clean my dishes, and this feels nearly impossible in some days. However, it then means that there are days that I need to admit that, yeah, I might not be able to cook, and what does that option leave me but to get a takeaway? But I can't get a takeaway because I don't have enough benefits to cover that cost. So what do? Do I just not eat dinner? Like, that is the reality of it. And it's not like I can say, okay, I need a carer that comes in every day at tea time, because my disability is dynamic. Some days I can do one thing, then I can't do it the next day. So it changes depending on what my needs are for that day, and it's very hard to estimate and judge when I'm going to have those difficulties, and oh, do I need to put money aside so that I can actually afford to eat and things like that. And that is so fucking stressful. Again, when I say about my kitchen right now, I am waiting for an OT to come out and assess me. However, waiting times for these services are long, which makes this more frustrating. The application and assessment process for disability benefits is a whole other significant hurdle. I have been encouraged by multiple health professionals who believe I should qualify for the enhanced rate of the daily living component. I submitted a detailed account of how my condition affects my daily life to ADP, which is usually about an 80-page form that you need to go through and fill out. And despite this, I was awarded just 1 point below the threshold for enhanced support. This decision acknowledged the difficulties I face, however, ultimately denied the additional support. Now I am faced with the prospect of revisiting this entire application process, identifying the areas where I may not have provided enough sufficient information, and this is a daunting and extremely exhausting task, especially when you are told that if you submit a change of circumstances to PIP or adult disability payment, that they could actually decide that you're better than what you were before, and then they take more off of you, which, like, what the fuck? How is this fair? It's not really. Like, the financial situation is dire. Like, looking at myself, after housing benefit covers my rent, I receive £268 per week, totaling around about £1,072 per month. If we look online, according to Turn to Us, individuals earning 60% below the median income of £425 per week are considered to be living in relative poverty. Having endured this financial strain for over 2 years, I fall into the category of being persistently low income, which in practical terms means persistently living below the poverty line. While I had managed to pay off debts using compensation from my car accident and a payout from the NHS, when I was unable to return to my nursing career, I find myself accumulating debt once again. And the reality is that surviving on these benefits is unsustainable, forcing many disabled individuals into a cycle of debt and financial insecurity like I am in right now. These personal experiences are not unique. The broader statistics paint a similarly grim picture, to be honest. There are 16 million disabled people in the UK, and after housing costs, 27% of working age disabled individuals live in poverty, which is a much higher proportion than the 19% of non-disabled individuals facing the same. Moreover, nearly half of the 14.9 million people living in poverty in the UK reside in families that include a disabled adult or child. This highlights the systemic issues within our society that disproportionately affect disabled individuals and their families. And advocacy then becomes a crucial tool in this landscape. Disabled people often find themselves as a minority group compelled to advocate for their own needs and rights because others don't fully understand the challenges that they face. Unless somebody has a personal experience with disability or has a close family member or friend who is disabled, it is really difficult to grasp the daily struggles and the systemic barriers that exist. This lack of understanding can lead to inadequate support systems and policies that fail to address the real needs of disabled individuals. In sharing these experiences and shedding light on the broader issues, I really hope that I'm helping to contribute to a more informative and empathetic dialogue around disability benefits in the UK. The system, as it stands, presents numerous challenges that need to be addressed to ensure that disabled individuals receive the support necessary to live dignified and independent lives. Navigating the landscape of disability benefits in the UK is becoming increasingly complex, especially in light of these proposed cuts and reforms, and it is imperative that we stay informed, share our stories, and advocate for a system that truly supports those that it was designed to help. How can the Labour Party, the people that designed the welfare state, be the one that are taking away the welfare from the people in the country that need it the most? I really encourage you to reach out to your local MPs, engage in community discussions, and support organisations who are fighting for disability rights. I really think together that we can really move towards a future where disability benefits provide genuine financial security and dignity for those disabled people, but it is never going to happen if there is this stigmatised view that those that are on welfare benefits are just doing it to scrounge off of the government, because the majority of us are not. The majority of us are just trying to live our life, and it seems like we are demonised and criticised for something that we can't help. How unfair is that? Honestly, don't know what else to say. This feels like it has been a bit of a rant, but also I hope that I have given you information that can help you to go to disability rights organisations. Even if you are not disabled and you are an ally of disabled people, please reach out to your local MP or MSP and talk to them about these changes and give them the information that you have heard in this podcast, that unfortunately there are a lot of people who are disabled that live below the poverty line, and that isn't okay. Because the more these cuts and reforms happen, the more disabled people are going to die because they don't have the right quality of life, and that is just fucking shocking. Like I said, this topic brings me a lot of anxiety. Like, money, finances in general bring me a lot of anxiety because I've already grown up in poverty, and I was really trying to get myself out of that. I was really trying to get myself out of debt, and it is such a shitty feeling to know that financially I am back in the same place that I was when I had my accident. And after I paid things off, I probably had about £2,000 in debt. And now I'm sitting about £7,000 and what the fuck? How am I even meant to pay that off when I don't even get enough money to live? It's fucked. It is all fucked, and I don't know how the UK keeps expecting to go in this way. Do they just want disabled people to leave? Is this what they're trying to do? Forcing us into not being in the UK? But then again, when you move to a different country, there is a lot of countries that, for example, when I was a nurse, I wanted to move to New Zealand, and after becoming disabled, I found that they have a policy, and people who are moving to New Zealand, they usually will not take on people who do need financial support from the government because they are taking another government burden. And that is the only place that I have really like properly looked into it. And even then, this was like a couple of years ago. So again, like I said at the beginning, if there is any information that I have said that you disagree with, that you have different stats for, like, please let me know down below in the comments. Or you can send me an email to crippledchroniclespod@gmail.com, and I will do my research and I will correct myself, because I don't want to be putting false information out there. But just now, the time that we're living in, it is fucking scary to live as a disabled person, because I don't know how I'm meant to live my life. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this episode for today. It has been a bit of a shorter one, but at the same time, I don't want to ramble on for too long. I just want to kind of have a bit of a quick, concise breakdown on my opinion of what the government's proposed cuts and reforms are, and from the information I have found, what impact that this could have on the disabled community at large. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have found it informative, please share it among others who might benefit from it. And please do not forget to subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast platform. And you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Cripple Chronicles Pod for daily life updates and some additional content. So yeah, take care, stay informed, try and not let this shit get you down, and remember that your voice matters. Until next time, I'll see you later.